I know pretty much everything about you from and one up to this point, but I want to know what your life was like before and one.
Oh, okay. So before AND1, well, right before AND1, I was actually working at a grocery store, and I walked on to a junior college, like community college team, and I
Wow.
played like 3 minutes a game. I walked on. I didn't get a scholarship. Before that, I got cut from like three different community colleges. I went and tried out. And they're like, "No, we don't think you can fit the bill here." So it was funny because my dad had politics with the local head coach at the community college, and my dad owned a jewelry store, so the dude was buying some like jewelry for my dad, and he kind of like convinced him that like he should give me a tryout because like I love the game. He's like, my son's good, boo. So the coach is nice enough to actually give me a tryout,
Wow.
and
That's
he
rare.
saw that I had talent, but I was like mad small, like I always look like I'm like 10 years younger than I am. So when I was 18, I looked like I was for 12 years old. So he saw I had talent, but he didn't believe, a lot of them were scared that I couldn't guard anybody. So he let me redshirt. But then next thing you know, a bunch of people got injured. So he threw me in the lineup, but like I barely played. So after my freshman year, I improved like 300%. And I was always a fan of AND1. So they were touring. They came to Portland, Oregon, my home state. So I drove up there really just to watch the game as a fan, but then they're having tryouts. So I'm like, yo, let's get
For
it.
and one, they're having tryouts?
That's how I got on AND1, just through
Wow.
open tryout. The reality show on ESPN was actually about the whole tryout process and like a whole like Survivor series on finding like one new guy to sign a contract.
That's crazy. So you just went up there wanting to watch them, and next thing you know, they offer you a contract? Like what? How did that happen?
So I went up there as a fan. Then I see they had these open tryouts, and so I was like, "Let's get it, nothing to lose." So I started doing my thing. The crowd started going crazy just over like different moves and stuff I was doing. And then I got voted to go in and play against Team AND1 that night. And so next thing I know, I'm going against my idols, Hot Sauce, Ayo, Ali Mo, all these dudes, and I got the crowd to stand up a few times. Like Hot Sauce and I went back and forth, and those things are like an all-star game. You only play like 10 minutes a game, 10,
Right.
15. So when I was in, I scored like six point, like 3 buckets. The crowd went crazy, all this stuff, a couple no-look passes. And then they asked me, out of the 3 guys that got picked to play in the game, they said, we picked you as the best. Would you want to go on tour and be in this contest? And I'm
What
like,
the hell? That just happened
yeah.
quick.
Yeah, I'm like, sure, cool. And then it was funny because a couple weeks into the tour, the ESPN show kind of like started airing, and it was always like it was a couple weeks behind where we were actually at in real time. Like they edited that joint fast, right? Especially for a mainstream show. And so by the time it went up, I'm hoping that I get some screen time. Maybe I could like press pause and see myself, you know what I mean, on ESPN. Sure enough, the tryout process that's the main feature of the show. So I was like starring on the show, and they didn't even tell me that, you know what I'm saying?
No way.
I was like the star of the show. Well, lo and behold, I was just hoping I could pause it to get a little airtime. And so we go throughout this whole tryout process throughout the summer. And then by like August, we come down to the last game. I end up winning a contract, and I didn't even think I could win. I was just happy to be there for like one game. You know what I mean?
That's crazy, man. That life comes at you fast. Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane. So would you say that like your style of play, and did you play in high school, I'm assuming?
Yeah. I played every level, high school and
Okay.
stuff, but I didn't play varsity until I was a senior. I was
Wow.
a JV.
I was the same way. I was the same way. So would you say that your style of play during high school and college is totally different than how you play on and one and in the streets, or when you played at those levels like high school and college? They expect you to play a lot more fundamentally. Would you say that you did play fundamentally, or have you changed the style of your play since going on to and one?
Oh, it's a good question. So I changed a few different times. So in high school, I always had like the tricks. I was still an AND1 fan. So like you're liable to see me in a high school game like doing crossovers. Like it was more dumbed down when I was in high school. I like watch Allen Iverson was one of my main heroes. So I was
Same,
playing
dude.
real basketball fundamentally, but I'll give you like Tim Hardaway crossovers, Allen Iverson crossovers, no look passes every once in a while. You know what I mean? And sprinkle it in there.
Right.
Then when I got on the and1, I realized that like back in that era, a 3-pointer, like if I made a 3-pointer in my and1 game back in the day, it's crickets. Nobody was excited about that. You know what I mean? Like today they love a 3-pointer, right? But like back then, nobody cared about no 3-pointer. If you weren't like shaking somebody up or driving the lane and throwing an alley,
Crossovers and dunks, that's it, or half court shots.
yeah, it wasn't even worth people's times if it wasn't that. So So I realized I had to turn up the sauce a little bit. So I became a little bit more flashy on AND1. But I actually changed my game a lot through the YouTube era. You know, like 2012, 2013, I started to have some viral content. And I started to see that if I played ultra showtime, it just made for a better video. You know, if I could play a dude to 11 and 7 of those possessions are, you know, shake moves or I embarrass them, by the time that video comes, like that's going to be a lit video. You know what I mean? So yeah. I'm way more showtime, and I switched up my whole style of play too. Just different things I learned. I worked out with some NBA trainers. I changed my shot. I saw certain moves work. When I focused more on the moves with the digital era, I saw what worked. And like now, if you watch my AND1 style play versus today, it's 2 totally different players.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that out and compare the two. How would you say you got so good? I mean, what you're most known for is your ball handling skills. How would you say that you honed those skills?
Just spending so much time playing the game. You know, a lot of people they know that if you have to be good, you have to just like practice a lot. You know what I mean? But that looks different for so many people. Like I practice so much that some parents ask me all the time, like, how does my son get as good as you are? You know, how many times a week should we be practicing?
Times a week.
Yeah. And the truth is, what I tell them is, when I was young, my parents were trying to figure out how to make me practice less because I was spending too much time playing ball and not doing anything else. So I think if you want to talk about playing college or pro, that's the level you need to be aiming for. Is like you practicing too damn much. You know what I'm saying?
It's gotta be an obsession. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So for me, it was like that. And I had a great trainer, like starting in 5th grade. Our personal trainer taught me the Iverson crossover in and outs. This dude was really ahead of his time. Shout out to Rodney Howard. But just imagining myself in a game and working on, like, if I want to learn a move, I just do it like thousands of times in one practice session. You know what I mean? But I was never really a drill guy. I'm not a put out the cones and do the drills. I would just put myself in a game situation and just work on stuff with repetition.
That's funny you say. That's what I used to do. Like for me, basketball was my life forever. I would probably be in the driveway. On average, if you took 7 days out of the week, I'd probably be in the driveway, 4 hours a day just shooting hoops. And I would do the same thing. I would use my imagination pretending that I was in the game. I was doing these crossovers and drills. And, my big thing was like I'd always play this game where I'm like, all right, it's a buzzer beater. I'd just pretend like I'm shooting the winning shot in a game. And, I think that's really important. And you don't really see as many kids outside, playing, whether it be basketball or football or anything. They're all trying to be YouTubers or playing video games. So, I would like to see more people outside. But yeah, back to what you said, I think it's almost got to be an obsession. And it's got to be something that you do repetitively day in and day out in order to get to, that next level. So any kids out there listening, this is what it takes. This is what it takes.